The Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business Podcast brings you a unique view of Mesa through its vibrant business community and the subjects that are important. The podcast is produced in the Mesa Chamber of Commerce Media Studio, sponsored by the University of Phoenix. Our podcast is hosted by Mesa Chamber of Commerce CEO Sally Harrison. Please enjoy this episode of the Mesa Chamber Inside Business Podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm excited that you're here. So today in the podcast studio, we have Jonathan Brown with GUD Community Management, and you are the owner and president of the company.
That's right.
Since when?
GUD Community Management started in 2022.
Okay.
But we acquired some companies that have been legacy companies here in the Valley for quarter of a century.
Okay.
Long time.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit. Talk about, I know you're an Arizona native.
Yes.
Talk about, where you grew up and what led you to this.
So I grew up in Gilbert.
Okay.
Went through the Gilbert Public Schools system,
Mm-hmm.
loved it, had a fantastic time.
Yep.
I'm a third of 4 children and just loved growing up in the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Big Phoenix Suns fan, Arizona
Nice.
Cardinals,
Nice.
Mercury, Diamondbacks, went to the World Series, Game 1.
Fun.
So a fantastic time.
Yeah.
Left for a couple of years for school and other pursuits religiously, and then came back and started working in the industry that I'm in today. So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you purchased in 2023?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Purchased a company, that had been around a long time,
Uh-huh.
servicing the community, doing a great job, and the owner was looking to make a change.
Well, and we had a very large ribbon cutting
Yes.
not long ago.
Yes.
That was fun.
That was a ton of fun. I have seen several ribbon cuttings, and that one just had a ton of people.
It was very fun. And I got to
support.
say, it was probably also the hottest day I think we have had this year.
Yes. And thinking we were maybe past that, but no.
Yeah.
No, it was pretty hot.
And your dad?
Yes.
Husband, father?
Yes.
Yeah.
To 3 kiddos.
Nice.
One celebrating a birthday this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
How old?
Turning 1.
Okay.
Right?
Ah, very cool.
Yeah.
How fun.
Yeah, I love being a dad. So I've got a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
So you're busy.
Very busy.
Nice.
Trying to run the business and everything.
Yeah. So talk about GUD, because it's G-U-D.
Right.
Yeah. So what inspired that? What's GUD stand for?
Well, sometimes people say GUD. Some people say GUD, and I'll take any of them. That's
Sure.
perfectly fine.
Yeah, as long as they're calling, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So the name GUD actually started because we had a desire to have a name that, think about it this way, 20, 30 years ago, yellow pages were the thing, right?
Mm.
So you were AAA landscape,
Mhm.
AAA pool service, you name
Right.
it.
Yeah.
You wanted to be at the front.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're in the search engine age, AI age.
Yeah.
And what are people looking for? They're looking for good community management companies.
Mhm.
Looking for a good management company.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to be
The GUD.
top of mind on Google and everything else. And so when I looked it up, there was another company, somewhere in the state that had the GOOD name. And so I said, okay, I'll do GUD. I'll do an umlaut U, so it's got that 2 dots.
Yeah.
It's a friendly, face in an industry where, we're put as the villain sometimes. I wanted to have that friendly approach for our company. And when I went to go register the name, of course, the umlaut U doesn't get recognized. And so they just said it's GUD. And I said, that's perfectly fine. We went with it. We rolled with it. And now we're just GUD Community Management, just spelled a little funny.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
So growing up in a family deeply involved in HOA management.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk about what lessons you might have learned from all that. 'Cause that's a whole different world, right?
Right. And everyone has an origin story. For our family, my mom and dad were part of the HOA, visiting and going to the meetings and realizing that they needed to participate, and started a management company off of that. And I participated in many different ways. I would be pulling staples, licking envelopes, doing whatever I needed to help,
Sure.
make the small business dream come true. and did that throughout high school and into college. And once I got back, definitely in a different role at that point, having a college degree, was able to be a community manager and participate as a vice president of the company. And then eventually the company did sell to a national brand, and was excited for them for that. Lasted a couple of months, and I realized that was not for me.
I get it. Okay, so talk about what changed, what made you take the leap from Snow to rebranding and being good.
And again, Snow, a quarter of a century, had a great reputation here in the Valley. Snow was a family name, last name Snow.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to have that way of connecting or forcing my name with Snow, and I said, let's do the rebrand. Let's put our name out there as something that we want to basically do a refresh, and so that's why we went with Good.
Nice. So, HOA management, often misunderstood, right?
Correct.
I mean, I know I never want to see mail from my HOA, right? 'Cause it's usually not a good thing. Replace the tree that came down in the storm, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
What do you want people to know about the role of managing an HOA?
Misunderstood is a great way to phrase it, because people misunderstand what we do for an association. And so the way I like to think of it, and some people actually don't even know how a city runs, but we're very similar in that way. You've got a board of directors. They are a volunteer group of owners within that community.
Right.
And while they are elected, they typically will choose a management company to help facilitate the day-to-day operations. So we as a management company will come in. We don't have any decision-making power.
Okay.
We just simply execute based off of the direction of the board of directors. Now, the board of directors is tied to those governing documents, your CC&Rs, your bylaws, your rules and regulations. So we have a set of rules, some laws for the association. We follow them, and some people buy into a community. They may not read those before they buy. They may not. They may have read them and didn't realize, this particular issue. I live in a community where, they have a certain requirement for trees, saying you have to have a certain number of trees within your property. So there are very specific rules for every association, and we just help maintain those common areas, common elements. If your community has a pool, we help work with that pool vendor to make sure it's being maintained, and just make sure the community is a great place to live.
So how is Good different from other management?
First and foremost, we're one of the largest privately owned management companies left in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Over the last several years, there's been acquisitions, and that's been great for those companies. But I believe that a privately owned local company means a lot to a lot of people. When I'm talking to prospective clients, that's one of the things they ask is, where are you from? Where's headquarters? And I say, it's here in Mesa. And that means a lot to them.
Cool. So every business at this point is deep in technology and innovation, right? So how do you guys integrate that into what you're doing?
I'm so grateful that we have a third party that we work with, a partner called Sync Systems. And they are very progressive on new technology. So they are fully invested in AI. They are fully invested in providing a software that allows us to have a great experience on the homeowner side. Because if you're like me, and I'm sure you are in this case, you are not going to your HOA's website or their portal or their app.
Unless there's an issue, right?
Unless there's an issue. And you want to be in and out in 2 minutes, right? You want to get your one thing done and get out. It's not a social platform. It's not meant to be a scrolling forever. You just want to get your information. The software we use, very seamless, very easy to use on the homeowner side, and we want them to have that positive experience.
So good communication tool.
Great communication tool.
Well, you've grown up seeing leadership firsthand. How do you describe your own leadership style?
I like to lead with a way of love and appreciation and support. because, again, we're in an industry that is misrepresented, misunderstood. So we'll get phone calls that'll make anyone's day sour.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And I try to remind my staff, hey, it may have had nothing to do with you. They could have had a personal experience in their life and they're just projecting it on you. I'm sorry, that's just where we are sometimes. But we provide a lot of support behind the scenes, a lot of love to our team and staff, making sure that they know that they're valued, understood, supported. So that way when those days hit, those tough times, those tough calls, we're showing them that we're right behind them, helping them, taking escalation calls if needed and things like that.
How big is your team?
We have approaching 60.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many different communities do you guys work with?
We're servicing about 215 communities as of this
That's
podcast.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So if you could change one thing, one misconception about HOAs, community management, what would that be?
I would want homeowners to have the opportunity to be educated on our responsibility and how we are able to help them. When a homeowner calls in, again, they make the assumption that we are deciding that we want to, as good community management, inflict some sort of emotional pain on them, right? Through a letter saying, hey, your tree fell, you need to get it removed.
Right.
We're simply following those governing documents. And so whenever a homeowner calls in, our staff is trained to try to de-escalate, to make sure that the homeowner is heard and that they feel that we have listened to their issue, and then understand that we are going to do our best to help them, but that sometimes the end result is not going to be exactly what they wanted.
Sure.
And as long as we can understand that collectively together, I think we can have a great experience. But we need homeowners to understand that.
Yeah.
And we hope we can help continually train. And gosh, I hope there is some form of education on a larger scale for homeowners when they're buying a property to just better understand what their HOA is doing, because that's money out of their pocket every month, every quarter, every year that is going towards something. And if you don't know where it's going towards, then yes, you're going to call and get frustrated at who you think is responsible for XYZ. Right.
Well, let's talk about the downside of what you have to do when you have to actually address a violation. Do you have best practices for how you proceed with a violation and how you handle that? Because that's not the most fun. I've had that, having a tree lost in a storm, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we want to make sure that the board doesn't feel like they are taking a lot of these calls and emails and knocks on the door, because again, you're a volunteer, you live within a neighborhood, it could be your neighbor that gets the violation right next door. So we want to make sure that communication is coming to us as the day-to-day operations for management. So when a violation happens, it means that there's an infraction of those governing documents we talked about earlier, your CC&Rs, your rules and regulations. Yeah. Something occurred that is contrary to those. That's why the violation is being sent out. And again, we want to help that homeowner understand what they need to do to rectify the issue. If it is a tree that's fallen over and they just need to pick it, we can even provide some recommendations of landscapers or somebody who can help facilitate that. So what we try to do is internally we actually have a cheat sheet, and it's called our compliance fact sheet. And it has all the details for the compliance that needs to be done each and every time we go into a community. So when that compliance specialist is driving through the community, they're going off of that. And there's also board direction there, because there's subjectivity, right? Painting for homes is one of the biggest ones, right? Is my house needing to be painted? Or can somebody else look at it and say, oh no, it looks fine, right? There's a lot of subjectivity there. So we try to make sure that we work well with these homeowners, saying, hey, we took a drive, we looked through the community, we walked the community, we saw some issues, here's what we saw. Let's communicate, let's figure out how to resolve this. And if it needs to be escalated, we can bring it to the board of directors to facilitate a final decision.
Nice. So talk about your values and like, what values do you want to instill in your kids through your leadership of this company?
I want them to understand that this world can be a difficult place to live if we treat others in a way that makes people feel less valued. And so for me, again, we're getting that every day from phone calls. Now, granted, there are some people that sing our praises and say great things about us, and we love when they do that. But we all know those one dagger, that one difficult conversation. You don't get the good
calls as much as you get the bad, right?
We don't.
Yeah.
And so for us, and for me personally, I want to make sure that my kids know that even when times are difficult, it's all about your perception of how you're going to deal with that situation.
Sure.
We can come in and be just as negative, but what does that really lead us to?
Right.
Nothing great, nothing positive. So for me, I want my kids to understand, and hopefully my staff as well, understand that at the end of the day, we're all human. We all have feelings. We all understand differently. And as long as we have perspective and listen to one another, I think this world is going to be a better place.
Maybe you could go out and tell the rest of our community that, right?
I'm trying.
Not just your kids.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. Anything else you want to share? How can people get a hold of you?
Great question. So we're online, GUD, GUDHOA.com.
Okay.
They can find us on a couple different socials. And again, if you look us up on Google or any website URL, you'll be able to find us. And we're proud members of the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. Want to be for many years to come, and just excited for the opportunity.
Well, thank you for being here. And if you have updates and new things going on, come back.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast. You can find all podcast episodes at iTunes, Spotify, or your own favorite podcast website. You can also find them online at mesachamber.org. Content of this podcast is copyright the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, unless otherwise noted.